Crash. The sound was so loud it made the priest stutter in the middle of the vows. Maya Rodriguez was hanging from the crystal chandelier at the Belmont Hotel like a clumsy acrobat, with one leg tangled in the cables and the other swinging in the air, while 1,000 pieces of glass fell like rain over the 300 chicest guests in Seattle. "Don't move!" Maya shouted from above, trying to balance herself. I can get down." She had climbed up there to change a burned-out bulb, because of course Peterson had to notice exactly that bulb 2 minutes before the ceremony started. Now Maya was swinging 15 feet above the ground, her cleaning uniform torn, and her curly hair escaping from her ponytail like she'd stuck her finger in an electrical socket. "Kelly!" The shrill voice of event coordinator Peterson cut through the air like nails on a chalkboard. "Get that creature off my chandelier now." The groom, a skinny guy with a fish face, looked up and then at the bride. "Honey, I think we should—" "No!" the bride screamed, her $15,000 dress trembling with rage. "We're not stopping because of a cleaning lady." Maya tried to free herself, but the chandelier swayed dangerously. "Guys, seriously, I just need to—" Crack! One of the chandelier's supports snapped. "Everyone run!" Maya yelled, and that's when the real chaos began. 300 dressed-up guests started running in all directions like panicked penguins. The priest jumped behind the altar. The bride lifted her dress and sprinted like a marathoner. The groom tripped over his own pants and face-planted on the floor. Maya closed her eyes and prepared for impact, but instead of hitting the ground, she felt something soft. She opened her eyes and saw she had landed right on top of the wedding cake table. She was covered in frosting from head to toe, looking like a pink snowman. "At least I didn't break anything important," she muttered, pulling a piece of sugar rose from her hair. That's when she saw it. Among the cake debris, something shiny caught her attention. A white gold ring with a diamond that looked like it cost more than her entire apartment. She picked up the ring, wiping off the frosting, and noticed there was something inside it. A tiny piece of paper, rolled up like a microscopic scroll. Maya looked around. The ballroom was completely empty now, except for Peterson, who was screaming at someone on the phone about lawsuits and insurance claims. With trembling fingers, Maya unrolled the paper. In tiny, barely legible letters it read, "Save me, room 1247, now. They're coming for me." Maya's heart stopped. This wasn't a prank. This was a desperate cry for help. "Hey you!" Peterson's voice boomed across the ruined ballroom. "Clean this mess up right now and get out of my sight. You're fired." Maya clutched the ring tighter. She had two choices: clean up this disaster and slink home to her tiny apartment, or risk everything to help a complete stranger who might be in serious danger. She looked at the ring again. The diamond seemed to pulse with urgency. "You know what, Peterson?" Maya called out, standing up in the middle of the destroyed cake, frosting dripping from her uniform. "I quit." Peterson's mouth fell open like a fish gasping for air. Maya grabbed a napkin, wiped her hands, and marched toward the elevator with the ring burning like a secret in her palm. She had no idea what she was walking into, but for the first time in her life, she felt truly alive. The elevator dinged as it arrived, and Maya stepped inside, pressing the button for the 12th floor. Her reflection in the mirrored walls showed a woman covered in pink frosting, with determination blazing in her eyes. "Room 1247, she whispered to herself as the elevator climbed. "Here I come." The doors opened on the 12th floor, and Maya stepped out into a dimly lit hallway that felt like the beginning of the greatest adventure of her life. Maya stood in front of room 1247, her heart pounding so hard she was sure it could wake the entire hotel. The hallway was eerily quiet, illuminated only by the soft glow of emergency exit signs. She raised her hand to knock, but the door suddenly swung open. "Thank God," a deep voice whispered urgently. "I thought you weren't coming." Maya found herself face to face with the most gorgeous man she'd ever seen. Tall, dark hair tousled like he'd been running his hands through it, piercing blue eyes that seemed to look right through her soul, and a jawline that could cut glass. He was wearing a tuxedo that looked like it cost more than her car, but his bow tie was undone and hanging loose around his neck. Uh, Maya blinked, suddenly very aware that she was still covered in pink frosting and probably looked like she'd been attacked by a cotton candy machine. Are you? Did you write this? She held up the tiny paper. His eyes widened when he saw her. You're not who I was expecting. Sorry to disappoint, Maya said, trying to wipe some frosting off her cheek. I'm Maya Rodriguez, professional wedding crasher apparently. And you are? Jake Sullivan, he said, extending his hand. When their fingers touched, Maya felt a jolt of electricity shoot up her arm. And you're not disappointing at all. You're unexpected. That's one way to put it, Maya laughed nervously. So what's the emergency? Are you being held hostage by bad room service? Jake's expression turned serious. It's complicated. Can you come in? I'd rather not discuss this in the hallway. Maya hesitated for a split second. Every rational part of her brain was screaming that this was insane, following a strange man into a hotel room based on a note found in a wedding cake. But there was something in his eyes, a vulnerability that made her want to trust him. Okay, she said, stepping into the room, but I'm keeping the door open. Fair enough, Jake said, running his hand through his hair again. Look, I know this is crazy, but I need your help. The wedding downstairs? That's my wedding. Maya's jaw dropped. Your what? My wedding. Well, supposed to be my wedding. To Victoria Ashford. The bride who was screaming about not stopping for a cleaning lady? That's the one, Jake said grimly. And I can't marry her, Maya. I just can't. Maya stared at him. So you wrote a note on a piece of paper, stuffed it in a ring, and somehow knew it would end up in the wedding cake? No, that's the weird part, Jake said, pacing across the room. That's not my ring. I've never seen it before in my life. But when I found your note on my pillow 20 minutes ago, I knew someone was trying to help me. Wait, what? Maya pulled out the ring. This note was on your pillow? Jake reached into his pocket and pulled out an identical tiny piece of paper. This was on your pillow? But Maya, I wrote this note. I put it in that ring because I was desperate, and I threw it into the crowd during the rehearsal dinner last night, hoping someone would find it and help me. Maya's mind was spinning. So you did write it? Yes, but I have no idea how it got back to me. It's like fate or something. Maya looked at the ring in her hand, then at Jake. Okay, backing up. Why can't you marry Victoria? Cold feet? Jake laughed bitterly. I wish it were that simple. Victoria isn't who she pretends to be, Maya. She's been lying to me about everything. Her family's business, her past, even her name isn't real. How do you know all this? I hired a private investigator 3 weeks ago because something felt off. The report came in this morning. Jake pulled out a manila folder from his jacket. Victoria Ashford is actually Victoria Kowalski from Detroit. She's been married twice before, both times to wealthy men who mysteriously lost all their money after the divorce. Maya's eyes widened. She's a gold digger? A professional one. And apparently, I'm next on her list. Jake sat down heavily on the bed. The worst part is, everyone thinks this is about my money, my family, my friends, the media. They think I'm some spoiled rich boy who can't commit. And you're not? Jake looked up at her, and Maya saw something raw and honest in his eyes. I'm an architect, Maya. I design affordable housing for low-income families. I inherited money from my grandfather, yes, but I use most of it for my foundation. I'm not some trust fund playboy. Maya felt her heart soften. That's actually really amazing. Tell that to Victoria. She thinks I'm wasting my potential on poor people. Yikes, Maya said, sitting down in the chair across from him. So what's your plan? Just not show up? I was going to, but then security showed up at my door 10 minutes ago. Victoria sent them to make sure I don't leave the hotel. She's got this whole thing planned out. If I try to run, she'll spin it to the media that I left her at the altar because I'm unstable. It'll destroy my reputation and my foundation. Maya stood up, pacing now. So you're trapped. Exactly. Unless... Jake looked at her hopefully. Unless someone helps me escape. Someone like a wedding crasher covered in cake frosting? Someone like a brave, beautiful woman who just quit her job to help a stranger. Maya felt her cheeks burn. You think I'm beautiful? Jake stood up and walked over to her. Maya, you literally fell from the sky covered in pink frosting to save me. You're the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. For a moment, they just stared at each other. Maya could feel the air between them crackling with electricity. Then reality crashed back in. Okay, she said, stepping back. Let's say I help you. What's the plan? Jake's face lit up. I have a car in the underground garage. Level B2, spot 47. If we can get there without being seen, we can get out of here. And go where? I have a cabin up in the mountains. We can lay low there until I figure out how to handle this legally. Maya bit her lip. This is completely insane. I know. I could get arrested. Probably. I'm still covered in cake. You wear it well. Maya looked at him. This gorgeous, vulnerable man who needed her help. For the first time in her life, someone was asking her to be brave, to be the hero of her own story. Okay, she said finally, but I have conditions. Name them. First, you tell me everything, no more secrets. Done. Second, if this goes badly, you don't let me take the fall alone. I would never do that. And third, Maya grinned. You owe me a new uniform, this one's pretty much destroyed. Jake laughed and Maya felt her heart do a little flip. Deal, but can I make a request? What? Can we stop at a convenience store on the way? I'd like to buy you some wet wipes. Maya burst out laughing. You know what, Jake Sullivan? I think this might be the beginning of a beautiful friendship. Or something more, Jake said softly. Before Maya could respond, they heard footsteps in the hallway and a woman's voice calling out. Jake? Jake, are you in there? The ceremony starts in 20 minutes. Victoria. Jake and Maya looked at each other, panic in their eyes. Time to go, Jake whispered. Maya grabbed his hand, and together they headed for the door, ready to embark on the wildest adventure of their lives. Jake? Jake! Victoria's voice was getting closer, accompanied by the sharp clicking of expensive heels on marble floors. Maya pressed her back against the hotel room door, her heart hammering. Is there another way out of here? Jake was already moving, grabbing a duffel bag from the closet. Fire escape, but we'll have to go through the window. The window? We're on the 12th floor. Trust me, Jake said, throwing the bag over his shoulder. I'm an architect, remember? I know this building's layout better than anyone. The sound of a keycard beeping made them both freeze. She has a key, Jake whispered, his face pale. Maya's mind raced. Bathroom, now. They rushed into the bathroom just as the main door opened. Through the crack under the door, Maya could see Victoria's shadow moving around the room, her voice sharp with irritation. Jake, I know you're here. Your phone's GPS shows you're in this room. Victoria's voice was getting closer. We need to talk about what happened downstairs. That ridiculous cleaning girl destroyed our ceremony. Maya felt a flash of indignation. Ridiculous cleaning girl? She'd show Victoria ridiculous. Jake squeezed Maya's hand and pointed to the bathroom window. It was small, but they could probably squeeze through it onto the fire escape. He gestured for her to go first. No way, Maya whispered. I'm not leaving you. Maya, please. Together or not at all. The bathroom door handle turned. In one fluid motion, Jake grabbed Maya around the waist and lifted her toward the window. Hold on tight, he whispered. Maya wrapped her arms around his neck, just as the bathroom door swung open. Victoria's scream of rage echoed through the room as Jake pushed the window open, and they tumbled out onto the fire escape in a tangle of limbs. Go, go, go! Maya shouted, scrambling to her feet. They clattered down the metal stairs, taking them two at a time. Behind them, Victoria was leaning out the window, her perfectly styled hair whipping in the wind. Security! She shrieked. They're on the fire escape. She's really not taking this well, Maya panted as they reached the 8th floor. She's not used to not getting her way. Jake replied, his tuxedo jacket flapping behind him like a cape. They could hear heavy footsteps echoing from below, security guards climbing up to intercept them. Jake grabbed Maya's hand and pulled her toward a window. "What are you doing?" Maya asked. "Improvising," Jake said, trying to pry the window open. "This should lead to the hotel's laundry room." "Should. Architecture is sometimes more art than science." The window finally gave way, and they climbed through into what was definitely not a laundry room. They found themselves in the hotel's kitchen, right in the middle of the dinner prep chaos. Chefs were shouting orders, pots were clanging, and the smell of garlic and herbs filled the air. "Oye, ¿qué hacen aquí?" called out one of the cooks, waving a wooden spoon at them. "Sorry, emergency," Maya called back in Spanish, then grabbed Jake's hand. "This way." They weaved between the prep stations, ducking under hanging pots and dodging waiters carrying trays. Maya's knowledge of hotel layouts from her cleaning jobs was finally paying off. "There," she pointed to a service elevator. "That goes straight to the garage." They dove into the elevator just as security guards burst through the kitchen doors behind them. Maya jabbed the close doors button frantically. Come on," she muttered. The doors slid shut just as a guard's hand reached for them. In the sudden quiet of the elevator, Maya and Jake looked at each other. Both were breathing hard, hair disheveled and covered in a light sheen of sweat. Jake's bow tie was now completely gone, and his tuxedo shirt was partially unbuttoned. Maya's frosting-covered uniform was somehow even more destroyed than before. "That was," Jake started. "Insane," Maya finished. "I was going to say exhilarating." Maya laughed, the adrenaline making her giddy. "You know, most first dates don't involve escaping through fire escapes." "Is this a date?" Jake asked, stepping closer. "Well, you did say I was beautiful, and now we're running away together. That's either a date or a kidnapping, and I'm pretty sure I'm the one doing the kidnapping." Jake reached up and gently wiped a smudge of frosting from her cheek. "For the record, you're even more beautiful when you're being a badass." The elevator dinged and the doors opened to reveal the underground garage. It was dimly lit and filled with the expensive cars of hotel guests. Jake led Maya through the maze of vehicles toward the back corner. "There," he said, pointing to a sleek, black motorcycle. "Our chariot awaits." Maya stopped dead. "That's not a car." "It's faster than a car, and easier to maneuver." "Jake, I've never been on a motorcycle in my life." "There's a first time for everything," Jake said, straddling the bike and starting the engine. The sound echoed through the garage like thunder. "Besides, you just climbed out of a 12th-story window and escaped through a 5-star kitchen. I think you can handle a motorcycle." Maya heard the ding of elevator doors opening behind them, followed by shouting voices. "Decision time, Maya," Jake said, holding out his hand. Maya looked back at the security guards pouring out of the elevator, then at Jake on the motorcycle, his blue eyes challenging her to be brave one more time. "Screw it," she said, climbing on behind him and wrapping her arms around his waist. "But if I die, I'm haunting you." "Deal," Jake said, revving the engine. They shot forward just as the security guards reached them, weaving between the concrete pillars toward the exit. Maya buried her face in Jake's back, inhaling his cologne mixed with the scent of adrenaline and freedom. They burst out of the garage into the Seattle evening, the city lights twinkling around them like stars. The cool air whipped through Maya's hair, and for the first time in her life she felt truly alive. "Where to?" Jake shouted over the wind. "Anywhere but here," Maya shouted back. They merged onto the highway, the motorcycle humming beneath them as they left the city behind. Maya loosened her grip slightly and looked back to see the Belmont Hotel growing smaller in the distance. "You okay back there?" Jake called. "Better than okay," Maya replied, surprised by how true it was. They rode in comfortable silence for a while, the rhythm of the engine and the warmth of Jake's body lulling Maya into a sense of peace she hadn't felt in years. The mountains loomed ahead of them, dark and mysterious against the star-filled sky. After about an hour, Jake pulled off the highway onto a narrow mountain road. They climbed higher and higher, the air growing cooler and thinner. Finally, Jake turned into a hidden driveway that led to a cozy log cabin nestled among the pine trees. Home sweet home, Jake said, cutting the engine. Maya climbed off the motorcycle, her legs a bit shaky. This is your cabin? My grandfather left it to me. It's where I come when I need to think. Jake took off his helmet and ran his hand through his hair. And right now I need to think about what the hell I'm going to do with my life. Maya walked to the cabin's porch, looking out at the view of the valley below. The city lights twinkled like a jeweled necklace in the distance. It's beautiful up here. Yeah, it is, Jake said. But when Maya turned around, he was looking at her, not the view. Jake, I know this is crazy, Maya. I know you don't really know me and I'm asking you to trust me with your life. But I need you to know that what happened today, meeting you, it feels like the first real thing that's happened to me in years. Maya felt her heart skip a beat. What are you saying? Jake stepped closer, close enough that she could see the flecks of gold in his blue eyes. I'm saying that maybe that note in the ring wasn't random. Maybe it was meant to bring us together. Jake, we just met. People don't fall in love in one day, don't they? Jake cupped her face in his hands. Maya, I've been going through the motions of my life for so long I'd forgotten what it felt like to actually live. And then you crashed into my world, literally, and everything changed. Maya's breath caught. This is happening really fast. I know, and if you want me to slow down, I will. But I need you to know that when I look at you, I see something I've been searching for my whole life. What's that? Home. Before Maya could respond, Jake leaned down and kissed her. It was soft and gentle at first, tentative, like he was asking permission. But when Maya kissed him back, her hands fisting in his shirt, the kiss deepened into something desperate and hungry. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Maya rested her forehead against his chest. This is insane, she whispered. The best things usually are, Jake replied, stroking her hair. Maya pulled back to look at him. So what happens now? Now we figure out how to deal with Victoria and her lawyers and then… Jake smiled. Then we see where this goes. And if it goes nowhere, then at least we'll have had the most incredible adventure of our lives. Maya grinned. You know what? I can live with that. Jake took her hand and led her toward the cabin door. Come on, let's get you cleaned up and fed, and then we'll plan our next move. Our next move? Maya Rodriguez, you didn't think I was letting you go that easily, did you? As they walked into the cabin together, Maya realized that for the first time in her life, she was exactly where she belonged. Maya woke up to the smell of coffee and bacon, and for a moment she couldn't remember where she was. Sunlight was streaming through unfamiliar windows, and she was wearing an oversized flannel shirt that definitely wasn't hers. Then the memories came flooding back. The chandelier, the ring, Jake, the motorcycle, the kiss that had made her forget her own name. She padded barefoot to the kitchen, where Jake was standing at the stove, his dark hair still messy from sleep. He'd traded his destroyed tuxedo for jeans and a navy blue sweater that made his eyes look even more impossibly blue. Morning, beautiful, he said without turning around. Sleep well? Like the dead, Maya admitted, accepting the mug of coffee he handed her. Though I had the weirdest dream about hanging from a chandelier and escaping on a motorcycle with a runaway groom. Funny, I had the exact same dream, Jake grinned. Except in mine, the girl was even more amazing than I remembered. Maya felt her cheeks warm. In the morning light, without the adrenaline and chaos of yesterday, everything felt different. More real, but also more complicated. Jake, we need to talk about what happens next, she said, settling onto a bar stool at the kitchen island. I know. Jake's expression grew serious as he plated their breakfast. I've been thinking about it all morning. Actually, I've been thinking about it since 3 a.m. Couldn't sleep either. Too much on my mind. Jake sat down across from her, his hands wrapped around his coffee mug. Maya, there are things about my life, about Victoria, that you need to know before this goes any further. Maya's stomach clenched. That sounds ominous. It's not. Well, maybe it is. Jake ran his hand through his hair. The truth is, This isn't the first time something like this has happened to me. You mean the runaway groom thing? I mean the woman trying to marry me for my money thing. Jake stood up and walked to the window, staring out at the mountains. 3 years ago, I was engaged to someone else, Rebecca Martinez. Beautiful, smart, seemed perfect. Maya felt a stab of something that might have been jealousy. What happened? I found out she was working with my business partner to embezzle money from my foundation. They were going to clean me out and disappear right after the wedding. Jake's voice was bitter. I called off the wedding 2 days before the ceremony. Oh my God, Jake, I'm so sorry. The worst part was, everyone said I was paranoid. My family, my friends, even my lawyer thought I was making it up because I had cold feet. Jake turned back to face her. It took 6 months to prove I was right, and by then Rebecca and my partner had stolen almost $2 million from the foundation. Maya set down her coffee mug. And now Victoria is doing the exact same thing, just with a different angle. Jake sat back down, his expression grim. The private investigator I hired found out she's been systematically targeting wealthy philanthropists for the past 5 years. I'm her biggest score yet. So when you found that note in the ring, it felt like history repeating itself, like I was cursed to attract women who only wanted my money. Maya stared at him. And then I showed up. And then you showed up. Jake said softly, covered in cake frosting, demanding nothing from me except the truth. Do you have any idea how rare that is in my world? Maya's heart was racing, but not in a good way. Jake, what exactly are you saying? I'm saying that I've never met anyone like you, Maya. You're real, you're honest, you're brave. Jake reached across the table and took her hand. You're everything I've been looking for. But, Jake hesitated. But I need you to understand what you're getting into. If we do this, if we try to make this work, Victoria isn't going to just disappear. She's going to fight dirty. She's going to try to destroy both of us. Maya pulled her hand away. So this is about protection? You need me because I'm not after your money? No, that's not. Because let me tell you something, Jake Sullivan. Maya stood up, her eyes flashing. I may be a cleaning lady, but I'm not some charity case you can rescue and keep around as proof that you're a good guy. Maya, that's not what I meant. Isn't it? Maya's voice was rising. Poor little Maya. So honest and pure. Nothing like those other gold-digging women. She'll be grateful for whatever scraps of affection I throw her way. That's not how I see you at all. Jake stood up too, his own voice getting louder. You're the strongest, most incredible woman I've ever met. Then why does it feel like you're interviewing me for the position of safe girlfriend? They stared at each other across the kitchen, the air crackling with tension. Maya could see the hurt in Jake's eyes, but she was too angry to care. You know what? Maya said, grabbing her ruined uniform from where she'd left it draped over a chair. Maybe this was a mistake. Maybe I should just go back to my real life and let you figure out your rich people problems. Maya, please. No, Jake. I thought this was different. I thought we were different. But you're just another guy who can't see me as anything more than what I'm not. Maya stormed toward the bedroom to change, but Jake caught her arm. Wait, he said desperately. Just wait, let me explain. Explain what? That you've been burned before, so now you're scared? That you think I'm some kind of antidote to your trust issues? Maya jerked her arm free. I've got news for you, Jake. I've been burned too. What do you mean? Maya laughed bitterly. You want to know why I was working as a cleaning lady at wedding receptions? Because 3 years ago, I was supposed to have my own wedding, to my college boyfriend, David. We'd been together for 4 years and I thought he was the love of my life. Jake's expression softened. What happened? I found out he'd been cheating on me with my best friend for 8 months. But the really fun part was that he'd also been using my credit cards to pay for their dates. Maya's voice was shaking with old pain. I lost my fiancé, my best friend, my savings, and my credit rating all in one day. Maya. So don't you dare stand there and act like you're the only one who's afraid to trust people. Maya continued. The difference is, I'm willing to take a chance on you anyway. But I need you to take a chance on me too, not just see me as the safe option. Jake stared at her for a long moment, and Maya could see something shifting in his expression. You're right, he said finally. I'm an idiot. Yeah, you are. And you're not the safe option, Maya. You're the terrifying option. Jake stepped closer. You scare the hell out of me because for the first time in years I actually care about someone more than I care about protecting myself. Maya felt some of her anger deflating. Then why did it sound like you were giving me a job interview? Because I'm an architect who's used to having blueprints and plans and contingencies for everything. And you? Jake cupped her face in his hands. You're completely outside my blueprint. You make me want to throw away all my careful plans and just jump. Jumping is scary, Maya said softly. Terrifying, Jake agreed. But yesterday when you jumped off that chandelier into my life, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Even though I destroyed your wedding? Especially because you destroyed my wedding. Jake leaned his forehead against hers. Maya, I don't want you to be my safe option. I want you to be my everything option. Before Maya could respond, Jake's phone rang. He glanced at the caller ID and his face went pale. It's my lawyer, he said. I have to take this. Jake Sullivan, he answered, putting the phone on speaker. Jake, where the hell are you? The voice was sharp and professional. Victoria's filed charges: kidnapping, fraud, breach of contract. She's claiming you coerced some hotel employee to help you escape and that you stole family heirlooms. Maya's blood went cold. Family heirlooms? The ring, Jake said grimly. She's claiming the ring you found belongs to her family. But that's impossible, Maya protested. I found it in the cake debris. Jake, you need to come in, the lawyer continued. If you don't turn yourself in voluntarily, they're going to issue a warrant, and they're looking for your accomplice too. Maya and Jake looked at each other, the weight of their situation suddenly crushing down on them. How long do we have? Jake asked. 24 hours, maybe less. Jake, I'm serious. This isn't going away, and running is only making it worse. Jake ended the call and sank into a chair. I'm so sorry, Maya. I've dragged you into this mess, and now you're going to get arrested because of me. Maya stood there for a moment, processing everything. Then she walked over to Jake and lifted his chin so he was looking at her. You know what, Jake Sullivan? What? I'm still scared as hell, but I'm also still here. Maya smiled. And if we're going down, we're going down together. Jake's face lit up with hope. Does that mean It means I'm willing to jump too, Maya said. But first, we need to figure out how to prove that Victoria is lying. How do we do that? Maya grinned, and Jake saw a spark of mischief in her eyes that he was beginning to recognize. We're going to need help, she said, and I know exactly who to call. Please tell me you're not about to suggest we call the A-team, Jake said, watching Maya pace around the cabin with determination blazing in her eyes. Better, Maya said, pulling out her phone. I'm calling my cousin Carlos. He's a private investigator in Seattle and he owes me a favor. What kind of favor? The kind where I didn't tell his mother he was dating a stripper last Christmas. Maya dialed the number. Carlos, it's Maya. I need your help, and I need it now. Jake listened as Maya rapidly explained their situation in a mixture of English and Spanish, her hands gesturing wildly as she spoke. After 10 minutes of intense conversation, she hung up. Okay, Maya said, turning to face Jake. Good news and bad news. Good news. Carlos can help us prove Victoria is lying. Bad news. It's going to require us to split up. Jake's stomach dropped. Split up? Carlos has been tracking Victoria's previous cons and he thinks he knows where she's hiding evidence of her other scams. But he needs someone on the inside at the hotel to access her room while she's distracted. Maya sat down next to Jake. And he needs someone to meet with her previous victims to get them to testify. Let me guess. I'm the distraction and you're meeting with the victims? Actually, the opposite. Maya took Jake's hands. Carlos thinks Victoria will be more focused on you. If you turn yourself in publicly, make a big scene about wanting to work things out, She'll be so focused on controlling the narrative that she won't notice someone else going through her stuff. Jake stared at her. Maya, if I turn myself in, I might not be able to get back out. And if you get caught breaking into her room, then we both go to jail, Maya said simply. But if we don't try, we definitely go to jail and Victoria gets away with everything. There has to be another way. Maya cupped his face in her hands. Jake, sometimes the only way out is through. You taught me that yesterday when you asked me to jump off that fire escape with you. That was different. How? Because I was there to catch you if you fell. Maya's heart melted a little. And I'll be there to catch you this time. But we have to trust each other, and we have to trust Carlos. Jake was quiet for a long moment, staring out at the mountains. When do we have to do this? Tonight. Victoria's holding a press conference at 6 p.m. to tell her side of the story. Carlos figures that's our best window. And after tonight? Maya hesitated. If it works, we clear our names and Victoria gets arrested. If it doesn't, we probably never see each other again. The weight of that possibility settled between them like a heavy blanket. Maya realized that somewhere in the past 24 hours, the thought of losing Jake had become more terrifying than the thought of going to prison. Maya, Jake said softly, if something goes wrong tonight, nothing's going to go wrong. But if it does, Jake continued, I need you to know that yesterday was the best day of my life. Meeting you, getting to know you, kissing you. Even if it all ends tonight, it was worth it. Maya felt tears prick her eyes. Don't talk like that. We're going to get through this. Promise me something, Jake said, pulling her closer. If this doesn't work out, if we can't be together, promise me you won't go back to hiding. What do you mean? I mean you're incredible, Maya Rodriguez. You're brave and smart and funny and beautiful, and you deserve someone who sees all of that. Don't let what happened with David make you settle for less than you deserve. Jake, promise me. Maya nodded, not trusting her voice. Jake leaned down and kissed her, slow and deep and desperate, like he was trying to memorize the feel of her lips. When they broke apart, both were breathing hard. Okay, Jake said, resting his forehead against hers. Let's go catch a con artist. 3 hours later, Maya was crouched behind a housekeeping cart on the 12th floor of the Belmont Hotel, her heart pounding so hard she was sure everyone in Seattle could hear it. She was wearing a hotel uniform Carlos had somehow procured, complete with a name tag that read, Maria, and a master key card that was definitely not legal. Through her earpiece, she could hear the chaos downstairs as Jake made his dramatic entrance into the hotel lobby. Ladies and gentlemen, Jake's voice carried clearly through the earpiece. I want to make a statement about yesterday's events. Maya heard the rush of reporters and camera crews converging on Jake. This was it. She pushed the cart to Victoria's suite, the penthouse of course, and used the key card. The door clicked open, and Maya slipped inside. The suite was enormous and pristine, decorated in whites and golds that screamed expensive taste. Maya quickly made her way to the bedroom where Carlos had told her to look for a laptop or safe. Victoria, Jake's voice continued through the earpiece, I want to publicly apologize for my behavior yesterday. I was overwhelmed and confused, and I made some very poor decisions. Maya found the laptop on the nightstand and plugged in the USB drive Carlos had given her. While it copied files, she searched the rest of the room. I've realized that running away was childish, Jake was saying. I want to work this out with Victoria like mature adults. In the walk-in closet, Maya found what Carlos had sent her looking for, a small safe hidden behind evening gowns. She tried the combination Carlos had suggested, Victoria's real birthday, not the fake one she'd been using. The safe clicked open. Inside were documents, jewelry, and several passports with different names. Maya quickly photographed everything with her phone. That's very mature of you, Jake. Victoria's voice came through the earpiece now, syrupy sweet and completely fake. I'm so glad you've come to your senses. Maya was about to close the safe when she saw something that made her blood run cold. At the very back was a small velvet box. Inside was a ring identical to the one she'd found in the cake, except this one had an inscription, property of the Ashford family, 1925. Her hands shaking, Maya photographed the ring and the inscription. This was it. Proof that Victoria had planted the ring Maya found, probably to frame them for theft. Of course, there's still the matter of the stolen family heirloom, Victoria was saying downstairs. I'm afraid that will have to be resolved through the courts. Maya quickly closed the safe and grabbed the laptop. The files were almost done copying. I understand, Jake said, and Maya could hear the strain in his voice. I just hope we can put this all behind us and… The laptop beeped. Copy complete. Maya pocketed the USB drive and was heading for the door when she heard voices in the hallway. Need to check the room one more time before… Maya's blood turned to ice. Hotel security was coming. She looked around frantically. The balcony? Too high. The bathroom? No windows. The only option was under the bed. Maya dove under the king-sized bed, just as the door opened. Everything looks normal, a male voice said, but do a full sweep anyway. If that cleaning girl is working with Sullivan, she might try something. Maya held her breath as footsteps moved around the room. Through the gap under the bed, she could see expensive shoes walking back and forth. Safe's still locked, another voice said. Laptop's here, nothing seems disturbed. Maya's phone buzzed with a text. She carefully pulled it out, keeping it on silent. Carlos. Victoria getting suspicious. Jake's running out of things to say. Get out now. The footsteps were moving toward the door. Maya waited until she heard it close, then counted to 30 before sliding out from under the bed. She crept to the door and listened. Silence. Maya opened the door carefully and stepped into the hallway, pushing the housekeeping cart. She made it exactly 3 steps before a hand grabbed her shoulder. Excuse me, miss, a security guard said. I'm going to need to see some identification. Maya's mind raced. The fake ID Carlos had given her was in her pocket, but if they looked too closely… Of course, Maya said, affecting a slight accent. I am just finishing the rooms on this floor. Which room were you just in? The storage closet, Maya lied smoothly. Someone spilled something on the carpet yesterday and I was treating the stain. The guard looked skeptical. Let me see your work order. Maya reached into her pocket as if looking for paperwork, but instead, she grabbed the small canister of cleaning solution from the cart and sprayed it directly in the guard's eyes. Sorry, she yelled, already running toward the stairwell. Behind her, the guard was shouting into his radio. Security breach on 12. She's heading for the stairs. Maya took the stairs 3 at a time, her heart hammering. She could hear footsteps echoing above and below her. They were trying to cut her off. Through her earpiece, she heard Jake's voice getting more strained. Victoria, I think we should discuss this privately. Oh, I think the public has a right to know exactly what kind of man you are, Victoria purred. Maya reached the ground floor and burst through the stairwell door into the lobby. The press conference was in full swing, with reporters and cameras everywhere. Jake was standing next to Victoria at a podium, looking like he wanted to be anywhere else. Victoria was in the middle of a speech about betrayal and heartbreak when Maya came running through the crowd, still wearing the hotel uniform, her hair wild and her face flushed. Stop! Maya shouted, holding up her phone. Everyone needs to see this. The crowd turned to stare at her. Victoria's face went white, then red with fury. That's her, Victoria pointed dramatically. That's the woman who helped him kidnap me. Actually, Maya said, connecting her phone to the sound system with surprising tech savvy. I think everyone should see what I found in Victoria's room. The photos from the safe appeared on the large screen behind the podium. Passports with different names, documents from previous marriages, and finally, the ring with its damning inscription. You planted that ring, Maya said, her voice carrying clearly through the microphone. You planted it so you could frame Jake for theft when he tried to leave you. The crowd erupted in chaos. Reporters were shouting questions, cameras were flashing, and Victoria was backing away from the podium with a look of pure panic. This is ridiculous, Victoria protested. She's lying. She broke into my room. Actually, a new voice said from the back of the crowd, she's telling the truth. Everyone turned to see Carlos walking forward with two other people, a man and a woman Maya didn't recognize. "My name is Carlos Rodriguez, and I'm a private investigator," Carlos announced. "These are Jennifer Walsh and Michael Chen, two of Victoria Kowalski's previous victims. They're here to testify about her pattern of fraud and identity theft." Victoria's face crumpled. The game was up, and she knew it. "Jake Sullivan is innocent," Carlos continued. "And Maya Rodriguez is a hero who risked her freedom to expose the truth." The crowd turned to look at Jake and Maya, who were staring at each other across the chaos. Maya had done it. She'd actually done it. But as security guards moved in to arrest Victoria, Maya realized she'd lost sight of Jake in the crowd. Reporters were swarming her, asking questions, taking pictures. Maya Rodriguez, how long have you and Sullivan been working together? Is this all part of an elaborate publicity stunt? Are you two romantically involved?" Maya pushed through the crowd, looking for Jake, but he was nowhere to be seen. Her heart began to sink. Maybe the pressure had been too much. Maybe he'd decided this was all too complicated, too messy for his carefully ordered life. She made it outside the hotel, still looking around frantically when she heard a familiar voice behind her. "Looking for someone?" Maya spun around to see Jake leaning against his motorcycle, holding two helmets and grinning at her. "I thought you left," Maya said, relief flooding through her. "Without my partner in crime? Never." Jake walked over to her and cupped her face in his hands. "Maya Rodriguez, you are absolutely amazing." "We make a pretty good team," Maya agreed. "The best," Jake said, leaning down to kiss her. As their lips met, Maya realized that sometimes the best adventures weren't planned at all. Sometimes they started with falling from a chandelier and ended with falling in love. "So," Jake said when they broke apart, "what do you say we get out of here?" "Where to?" "Anywhere you want. We've got the rest of our lives to figure it out." Maya grinned and took the helmet he offered her. "You know what, Jake Sullivan? I love the sound of that." As they rode off into the Seattle sunset, Maya realized that she'd finally found what she'd been looking for her whole life. A real adventure, and someone brave enough to share it with her. 6 months later, Maya stood in front of the full-length mirror in the bridal suite of Jake's mountain cabin, adjusting the simple white dress she'd fallen in love with the moment she saw it. It wasn't the $15,000 designer gown Victoria had worn. It was a flowing bohemian-style dress that cost less than Maya used to make in a week, but it made her feel like a princess. "Stop fidgeting," said her cousin Carlos, who was somehow managing to look handsome in a tuxedo despite his usual preference for leather jackets and jeans. "You look perfect." "I can't believe I'm getting married," Maya said, her hands shaking slightly as she tried to put on her earrings. 6 months ago I was cleaning up other people's weddings, and now you're having your own fairy tale," finished her sister Elena, who had flown in from Los Angeles the day before. "Though I have to say, your Prince Charming story is way more interesting than most. How many brides can say they met their husband by falling from a chandelier?" "Technically, I was hanging from the chandelier," Maya corrected, grinning. The falling part came later. Through the window, Maya could see the guests gathering in the clearing outside the cabin. It was a small wedding, just family and close friends, but it was perfect. Jake's parents had flown in from Boston, and after initial skepticism, "You're marrying a cleaning lady you met how?" They'd fallen in love with Maya almost as quickly as Jake had. "Ready for your something old, something new?" Elena asked, pulling out a small wrapped box. "What's this?" "Open it." Maya unwrapped the box to reveal a delicate silver bracelet with a small charm in the shape of a chandelier. "Elena!" Maya gasped, tears springing to her eyes. "Jake had it made special," Elena said, helping Maya put it on. "He said it's to remind you that sometimes the best things in life come from taking unexpected falls." There was a knock on the door, and Jake's voice called out, "Maya? Can I come in? I know it's bad luck, but I have something for you." "You're not supposed to see me before the ceremony," Maya called back. "I'm not looking. I'm standing here with my eyes closed like an idiot holding a box." Maya laughed and opened the door. Jake was indeed standing there with his eyes squeezed shut, holding a small jewelry box. Even with his eyes closed, he looked impossibly handsome in his charcoal gray suit. "You can open your eyes?" Maya said. "I'm not superstitious." Jake opened his eyes and his breath caught. "Maya, you look... wow. Not too shabby yourself, Sullivan." Jake handed her the box. "This is your something borrowed. It belonged to my grandmother." Maya opened the box to reveal a simple pair of pearl earrings. "Jake, they're beautiful. She wore them to her wedding 60 years ago. She and my grandfather were married for 58 years before he passed." Jake's voice was soft. "She always said they brought her luck and love." Maya carefully put on the earrings, replacing the ones she'd been struggling with. "How do I look?" "Like the woman I want to spend the rest of my life with," Jake said, leaning down to kiss her forehead. "I'll see you at the altar, Mrs. Sullivan-to-be." After Jake left, Maya took one final look in the mirror. The woman staring back at her was confident, radiant, and ready for whatever adventure came next. "Okay," she said to Carlos, who was waiting to walk her down the aisle. "Let's go get me married." The ceremony was being held in the same clearing where Jake had first brought her 6 months ago, but now it was decorated with white flowers and twinkling lights strung between the trees. A string quartet was playing softly as guests took their seats in white wooden chairs. As the music changed to the wedding march, Maya stepped out of the cabin on Carlos's arm. She saw Jake's friends from college, his business partners from the foundation, her family from Seattle, and even some of the hotel staff who had become friends over the past months. But her eyes went straight to Jake, who was standing at the altar looking like he might cry with happiness. Next to him stood his best man, his older brother David, and Maya's maid of honor was Elena. The officiant was Father Martinez from Maya's childhood church, who had insisted on performing the ceremony, even though it wasn't in his parish. "That girl has been through enough," he told Jake. "The least I can do is marry her properly." As Maya walked down the aisle, she thought about everything that had led to this moment. The chandelier crash that had seemed like the worst day of her life had actually been the beginning of the best chapter. Victoria was serving a 3-year sentence for fraud and identity theft. Maya had used her reward money from the insurance company to start her own event planning business, specializing in, ironically, weddings. And Jake had become everything she'd never dared to hope for in a partner. He was kind, funny, supportive, and he challenged her to be braver than she ever thought possible. When she reached the altar, Carlos kissed her cheek and whispered, "He's a good one, Prima. Don't let him get away." "I don't plan to," Maya whispered back. Jake took her hands and Maya felt that same electric jolt she'd felt the first time they touched. "Dearly beloved," Father Martinez began, "we are gathered here today to witness the union of Maya Elena Rodriguez and Jacob William Sullivan in holy matrimony. This is a love story that began in the most unexpected way." Maya barely heard the opening words. She was too busy staring into Jake's blue eyes, remembering their first kiss on this very spot, their first fight in the cabin kitchen, the way he'd looked at her when she'd walked into that hotel room 6 months ago. "Maya and Jake have written their own vows," Father Martinez announced. "Jake, you may begin." Jake cleared his throat and pulled out a folded piece of paper, but then he put it back in his pocket. "I had a whole speech prepared," he said, his voice carrying clearly in the mountain air. "But looking at you right now, Maya, all I can think about is how you literally dropped into my life when I needed you most." There was gentle laughter from the guests. 6 months ago, I thought I knew what love was supposed to look like. I thought it was supposed to be safe and predictable and fit into neat little boxes. Jake's voice grew stronger. "But you showed me that real love is messy and unpredictable and absolutely terrifying in the best possible way." Maya felt tears starting to pool in her eyes. "You taught me that sometimes the best way to save someone is to be brave enough to let them save you back. Maya Elena Rodriguez, I promise to spend the rest of my life falling for you over and over again. I promise to always catch you when you fall, and to trust you to catch me. I promise to never let our love become predictable or safe or boring." Jake paused, his own eyes getting misty. And I promise that no matter what chandeliers life throws at us, we'll face them together." The guests laughed and applauded. Maya was definitely crying now. "Maya," Father Martinez prompted gently. Maya took a deep breath and looked at Jake. "I also had a speech prepared, but you just made me forget every word of it." More laughter. "Jake, 6 months ago I thought my life was over. I thought I was going to spend forever cleaning up other people's messes and watching other people's happy endings from the sidelines." Maya's voice was shaking but strong. "But you saw something in me that I couldn't see in myself. You saw someone worth saving, worth fighting for, worth loving." Jake squeezed her hands. "You taught me that love isn't about finding someone safe. It's about finding someone worth being brave for, someone worth taking risks for, someone worth falling from chandeliers for." Maya grinned through her tears. "Jacob William Sullivan, I promise to spend the rest of my life being brave enough to deserve your love. I promise to always be your partner in crime, your fellow adventurer, and your soft place to land." Maya paused, looking out at their friends and family, then back at Jake. "And I promise that no matter what our future holds, it's going to be one hell of an adventure." The crowd erupted in applause and cheers. "May we have the rings?" Father Martinez asked. Elena stepped forward with Jake's ring and David produced Maya's. But instead of the traditional gold bands, they were simple silver rings with small engravings. "What does yours say?" Maya asked as she slipped the ring onto Jake's finger. "Partners in crime," Jake said, grinning. "What does yours say?" Maya looked at her ring as Jake slid it onto her finger. "Ready to jump." "Perfect," Maya whispered. "By the power vested in me by the state of Washington and the blessing of God," Father Martinez announced, "I now pronounce you husband and wife. Jake, you may kiss your bride." Jake cupped Maya's face in his hands and kissed her deeply, passionately, like it was the first kiss and the last kiss and every kiss in between. The crowd cheered and applauded, and somewhere in the distance, Maya could swear she heard the sound of a chandelier chiming in the wind. When they finally broke apart, both were laughing and crying at the same time. "So, Mrs. Sullivan," Jake said, "ready for our next adventure?" "With you?" "Always," Maya replied. As they walked back down the aisle together, hand in hand, Maya caught sight of something glinting in the late afternoon sunlight. Hanging from one of the trees was a small crystal ornament that looked remarkably like a miniature chandelier, spinning gently in the breeze. "Did you put that there?" Maya asked Jake. "No," Jake said, looking puzzled. "Did you?" They looked at each other and burst out laughing. "You know what?" Maya said, squeezing Jake's hand. "I don't care how it got there. I'm just grateful for wherever this crazy story started. Even if it started with you hanging from a chandelier covered in cake frosting. Especially because it started with me hanging from a chandelier covered in cake frosting." As they reached the end of the aisle, their guests showered them with rose petals and cheers. Carlos had somehow procured a motorcycle decorated with white ribbons and flowers for their getaway vehicle. "Your chariot awaits," he called out, grinning. Jake helped Maya onto the motorcycle, carefully arranging her dress so it wouldn't get caught in the wheels. As they prepared to ride off into their new life together, Maya looked back at the cabin where their love story had really begun. "Any regrets?" Jake asked, starting the engine. Maya wrapped her arms around his waist and smiled. "Only that we didn't crash into each other sooner. Well, Mrs. Sullivan, we've got the rest of our lives to make up for lost time." "I love the sound of that, Mr. Sullivan." As they rode down the mountain road, the setting sun painting the sky in shades of pink and gold, Maya realized that sometimes the best love stories don't start with "once upon a time." Sometimes they start with a crash, a fall, and a desperate note that says, "Save me." And sometimes, if you're very lucky, you discover that the person you set out to save ends up saving you right back. 3 years later, Maya and Jake would be featured in Romantic Living magazine as one of America's most inspiring couples. 5 years later, they would open their third affordable housing development. 7 years later, they would welcome their first child, a daughter they would name Grace. Because, as Maya said, sometimes grace comes in the form of falling chandeliers. But on this perfect wedding day, as they rode off into their new life together, all they knew was that they had found something worth every risk, every fall, and every leap of faith they'd ever taken. And in the mountain cabin behind them, the little crystal chandelier ornament continued to spin in the breeze, catching the last rays of sunlight and sending tiny rainbows dancing across the trees, as if the universe itself was celebrating the love story that had begun with the simple words, "Save me." The end.